School segregation surges 70 years after Brown v. Board of Education. Another one, nationwide teacher shortages leave school districts relying on alternative solutions. Our school system is not doing what it's supposed to do. Nationwide. It is. Arizona suffers. There's no doubt about it. But if you look around, I had this conversation with someone earlier today. I'm going to get to the ASU part of it in a moment. But this weekend, I was talking to somebody about school choice in Arizona and people that hate the voucher program. The school system has got to change. One of the things I'll give Dr. Crow credit for at ASU, with their being named the most innovative in the country, in the world, is because he saw education changing. K through 12 education needs to change, and they're helping to change that as well, expanding their micro school system. If you look at what is considered in America to be good schools, the best schools in the country are basis schools. They're charter schools. Started in Tucson, Arizona. The number one school in the country is in Arizona. Our top 10 schools, 8 of them are basis schools. The other 2, the first 8 are basis schools. Numbers 9 and 10 are university charter schools. Having people that are educated is the best gift you can give someone. It is the most important thing you'll ever do. And this is coming from someone that was a horrible high school student. I was terrible in high school. Terrible. I had a great education when I was younger. I can read very well. I can comprehend very well. Obviously, I can convey a thought. The issue in this country is, what do we do about educating young people? The school system is broken. And the hardliners in the teachers' unions don't want to change anything. They want the money and the control. And if you look here in Arizona, money is allocated through the federal government and through the state government is allocated to the school districts. The school districts then have no accountability. Superintendents and school boards spend that money any way they want. You don't have much oversight. You saw when parents were complaining about the handling of COVID and the shutting down of schools, which turned out to be 100% wrong. Just like many predicted. When parents spoke up, they were called domestic terrorists. The schools are broken, parents know it, and people are pushing back. But instead of trying to change the school system and fighting the system, they're getting alternatives. That's where school choice comes in. This idea of segregation is something that is so strange to me, and I'll tell you why. Again, I was born in Northeast Ohio, but my formative years I spent in the South. I spent in Southwest Florida. And I'm not casting any it was a great place to grow up. It was. But racism existed. And I remember busing. I remember desegregation of schools. I remember all of that happening. But at the same time, I was playing sports, and football is a religion in parts of the country. It's hard to describe. It's different than it is here. It's just different. And race did not play a role in who played. I'll give you an example of the dichotomy. I played for an organization called the Fort Myers Rebels, and our mascot was a Confederate soldier. And when we would travel to away games, we dressed the part. We wore slacks, khaki slacks, a blue blazer. We all had the same equipment bag. And when our blue blazer, we had to sew our mascot on the blue blazer. I was teammates for 2 seasons with Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders and I played on the same Pop Warner football team. There exist pictures of Deion Sanders wearing a Confederate soldier on his jacket. And yet, in the locker room and on the field, there was no racism. If you were good enough, you played, period. Everybody was treated equally. Everybody was held to the same standard. So I grew up in that dichotomy. I watched it exist. And we know anybody and I'm a student of the civil rights movement. I watched in the civil rights movement. I watched the videos, and I've heard the speeches, and I watched when I was a kid, the Klan still march in my hometown. They would get permits and hold rallies. Now, everybody ridiculed them. Nobody liked them, but they were still in existence when I was a little kid. And we watched people work and be willing to die for their cause. You look at the stories, you've seen the movies about Medgar Evers. We know what happened in the movies, and we know what happened to Martin Luther King Jr. and so many others who literally died for the cause of the civil rights movement. We've seen the videos, we've watched and read the books and the stories of when they desegregated schools, when they were blockading and not allowing black students into college campuses, and the fight that happened to make sure that black children had the same access to books and education as white children. And then young adults in the college and the university system. And this took decades for it to happen. And here we are now, 2 generations later, and black students on campus want to be segregated. They want separate graduations. They want separate ceremonies. They want separate spaces. And I look at this and I think it's a slap in the face to the civil rights movement. But regardless of all of that and all of the infighting that goes on at school campuses, parents want their children to be educated, and they're not getting it. Arizona State University is expanding its micro schools across the country. Arizona State University saw the issue with K through 12 education in Arizona, and they've been working to fix it for a long time because they understand that they are inheriting the problems. That when students show up on their campus to be trained in these high-tech jobs that are out there, you look at the schools, and I talked about this earlier today. You look at the Cronkite School and what it's known for with journalism, and how well you have to read and be able to convey a thought to go to the journalism school. You look at the W.P. Carey School of Business. You look at their law school. You look at their engineering program is the envy of the world. You have got to have the ability when you go into that school to retain the information that you're getting. And they know that kids from Arizona aren't doing it. They're not meeting the grade, and many times they've got to go to remedial classes before they can start a college education. So they invested in K through 12. You've got home schools, you've got micro schools, you've got charter schools, you got all of these other programs. Why? Because parents are not going to fight a broken system when the system pushes back. Public schools are suffering. School districts are seeing drops in enrollment. When you have a drop in enrollment, you get a drop in funding. And so they're hurting, and they're trying to figure out ways to retain students. What are they doing? They're saying, hey, look at us. We're improving our test scores. Look at the great things we're going to do for your student. The Phoenix Union High School District is doing television ads. Find a school that suits you. Come to Phoenix Union. That's competition. It's going to make things better. So the parents weren't being catered to, and they should have been. When the parents were asking questions, they should have gotten answers, and they weren't. And so what they did was say, we are going to find a way to send our kids somewhere else. School choice is going to help save the education system in America. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. People can fight it. They can complain. They can say rich kids are taking advantage of this and parents with money are taking that money and paying for tuition at private schools. I say good. Good. It's their money. But in the end, working class families that would never have an option for their kids but the failing school in their neighborhood now can have options to send their kids in other places. I don't care if people are profiting from it. All I care about is that young people are educated, that they have the ability when they get smarter as they get older and they finally decide this is a direction I want to go with my life, that they have the tools necessary to learn that skill, whether it's in a college classroom or it's on the job somewhere on a construction site, whether they're reading a textbook or a spec book from a blueprint. They are able to do the job. And anybody complaining about this is barking up the wrong tree.
Thanks for watching The Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.